Rapha facing off versus the Cheetah in K1llsen. Obviously, Ryan, Flea, you're going to be guiding us through the action on this one. So Flea, I want you to take the lead on this absolutely ginormous veto you've got to get through.
That's quite a few maps, of course. It is our first best of 5 of the day. We're going to start things off on Corrupted Keep, moving into Awoken, then Blood Covenant, Molten Falls, and if it gets to that point, Ruins of Sarnath will be our decider map. And there are some interesting picks.
Yeah.
If you look all the way down to the bottom, we are getting to see Keel versus Death Knight duke it out on the Ruins. We discussed this before the show went live, and we were all like, what is this? Both of these champions are almost never picked on a map as large and open as Ruins, but that of course is part of the charm of these longer games where you've got so many maps and the picks and bans that by the end you really have to put yourself with an unconventional champion on a map that you might not prefer to use him on.
Only in a map 5, that's all I'm saying about Death Knight. Death Knight becomes pretty popular when he's the only one that's left.
It's going to be a really interesting matchup because overall the lighter champions have been banned out. We see Slash, Anarchy, and Athena all taken off the table. So it's definitely going to be a game of strategy more than just outright aggression.
But as we go into the first map, worth mentioning as well that we will be in these best of 5 territories. There are plenty of maps on every single matchup that we see today, but we've reached that point, right? It's starting to... Champions are going head-to-head, and we're starting things off with 2 champions already. I'm sure everyone's excited, and a good time to remind everyone that you want to share the stream out. Make sure everyone knows about it. Share it on social media, hashtag Quake Pro League. We're only just started the day, but we have one hell of a matchup to kick things off with, I think.
Oh, we do indeed. A battle between 2 greats from history. Of course, Rapha in fantastic form recently. K1llsen has looked invigorated over the course of the tournament as well. And it seems like we're almost ready to kick this off on Corrupted Keep. And as Ryan rightly said, get that out there on Twitter. Hashtag Quake Pro League. Make some noise for our opening game. Rapha takes on K1llsen in our opening best of 5. Enjoy yourself, boys.
Even if someone was making noise, they would be doing it from the comfort of their own home. I promise that someone is. I'm sure someone is doing it.
I sure hope so, because this is going to be an excellent one to kick things off with. We've got Corrupted Keep as our first map of this best of 5 series, and immediately some aggression coming out. Both major items still up, 10 seconds into the game. K1llsen managing to snatch away that mega health, but he's getting hurt badly by Rapha using the LG and the heavy machine gun. And now K1llsen, he's got rockets and he managed to secure both of the major items, but he's lacking the lightning gun as well as the heavy machine gun.
And he is going to play this incredibly patient with that in mind. Also the fact that he's only got 5 rockets in hand. Can't really spam around corners too much without using up the precious ammo. 4 of them left now, but trying to put himself in position for the mega first. We're going to drop down and perhaps go for a trade. Always hard to call on a map like Corrupted because the items are so close together that even the smallest divide between the 2 of them can still be picked up by one player in one fell swoop.
You can clearly see K1llsen wanting to get a hold of some weapons.
Nice.
Rockets are obscene as Rapha pushes in, hoping he would have the advantage by using that mid-range LG. But K1llsen shuts him down with some beautiful rockets right there. I like the maneuver from Rapha right there, though, knowing that K1llsen is still looking to get his hands on the lightning gun, and after respawn, immediately cutting him off, making sure that his opponent still can't use one of the most important weapons in the game.
Nice little LG coming up from Rapha almost immediately. It's not going to do a lot to prevent K1llsen from being in a position, but this is that eternal machine gun battle from range. It'll be quite tricky to pepper it out there, looking for a mid-air just for that last ditch, but it's not going to work out. Rapha does manage to tie things up 1-1, does get a good shout on the spawn, but K1llsen more than aware that there are 2 weapons on the way. Let's just try and get out. Mega likely to get taken, and so will the heavy exactly the same time. So we are at that point now where players can tend to back off every 30 seconds and try and take an item each, or if one person decides to be brave and push, forces a delay, and then they establish full control over the map. And that is something that often Rapha thrives on, is that full map rotation.
K1llsen now hurting, has no armor to his name whatsoever. Rapha's got him stuck in a tiny little corner below the bounce pad. Can the German cheetah escape? He's got to be fast and won't be able to get out of the room. Luckily, he will get a good spawn, making his way over towards the Mega. I really like the decision right there not to go for LG, knowing that Rapha would come rushing towards him to trap him behind that statue. So instead, he just steals away the Mega health and sneaks out of the room, biding his time for a better opportunity to get himself all the weapons he needs.
Now from this stage, again, the items are about to spawn. K1llsen trying to put himself in position to get a bunch of decent damage, but that heavy's going to be the green light for Rapha to push all the way in. Double LG, that's certainly going to hurt. The Galena Totem might do it. Oh, he can't quite get the frag. It almost looked a little bit like he was just about to run out of ammo if he hadn't already. That was a bit of a heartbreaker, but the nature of Galena, she has that extra HP on demand, and it saved K1llsen's skin.
It was a close fight though, 7 points of health for the surviving K1llsen, so Rapha knows that his opponent is still weak and tender. Looking to put some more damage on the cheetah. K1llsen figures that Rapha leaves to pick up Mega. Heavy will be his prize. At least this time around he does have the LG to go. Nailed comes out, yeah, the dual LG, but the rockets are sublime. Nice. Rapha though, getting bounced past K1llsen, and the midi just won't connect. Rapha once again getting himself into the lead.
Rapha's definitely a man of numbers, and he knows how much damage is going into that fight. The K1llsen was on Mega side and likely to take Mega, and that's going to shave off a chunk of that cooldown time on her totems. Remember her passive, when she picks up health, it kind of adds towards the cooldown being taken off. So Rapha knew there'd be a little bit of extra stack there from K1llsen.
You just know,
slightly get it.
You just know that Rapha's the kind of player to keep track of all of that and to know exactly how much time is left before K1llsen can deploy another totem. Now Rapha's got a 100-100 stack. K1llsen, little armor to his name, but he does have that Mega to work with. Heavy will be the next one to spawn, but there's very little delay between the items, making it difficult for one player to set up a consistent rotation. Looks like Heavy will be going towards Rapha. And K1llsen will be taking Mega.
There's the jump pad, audio cue, Rapha's ready for it. That's a really good rocket to open things up though. Rapha's not going to be too shy on defense just yet with that dual wield locked and loaded. The amount of damage you can start to pepper out, and look at the fact that he's got plenty of LG ammo at the same time. Rapha saving it for a rainy day. But all things considered, Rapha holding up a defensive angle for now. Waiting for his opportunity. That little rocket, combined with the fact that he's just taken the heavy, that's a pretty damn good start for what could be a fight breaking out soon. K1llsen's being nice and safe. Understands that, look, it's gone 5 minutes in, but that's plenty of time to get 2 frags on a map like this. However, here comes the dual wield. LG on lock. Looking likely like it should be his fight. We swapped to the super shotgun just to be safe and guaranteed. Wonderful weapon usage. And Taboo, he gets some more ammo. Speaking of ammo, though, he needs to get his hand on some rockets, Flea.
I do wonder if K1llsen wasn't passive or defensive in that last situation. Oh, going for the rocket jump, the click again in our first map of the finals day. Rapha now extending his lead. I do feel that K1llsen was perhaps a bit too passive earlier on, and he just allowed Rapha to steal one of the major items away, and that is the last thing you want to allow the American to do, because now the score line is running away from K1llsen, a 5-frag lead already for Rapha. It's starting to look a bit grim.
Rapha's a player that will prey on your desperation too. When K1llsen understands that he's reaching a point where he needs to make something happen, like there's no time, we have to be a little bit aggressive and push. Kind of like now, able to snap up that frag, perfectly timed with the Mega at the same time. Now K1llsen's going to push again, looking for some spawn damage. Can't get the damage, and a rocket again, 2 in a row. Rapha barely survives, but this late on in the map, that kind of frag can spell disaster for K1llsen because he's just lost a ton of momentum.
That should have absolutely been K1llsen's frag, by all accounts. He grabbed Rapha off the spawn with a decent stack of his own and all the weapons he needed, and Rapha somehow landed the defensive rockets and then the switch to machine gun with 1 point of health left. Now the Americans still 5 frags in the lead, 3 minutes to go. K1llsen gotta figure out a way to break these defenses, get himself on a good cycle of the items.
We are reaching a scary point if you're in K1llsen's shoes though, because we have less than 3 minutes now, Flea. And Rapha has already been able to show that he controls the entire map. the many layers of getting a comeback. The first one meaning you have to get that initial frag on Rapha to start the snowball that is mandatory this late on in the game. But look at the stack. Look at how comfortable Rapha is. He's continuing to lay that pressure onto K1llsen. He's not giving up anything, starving away as much as possible. K1llsen now, the gap is getting larger and larger, unfortunately. And by all accounts, this could very well be that first map for Rapha. Yeah. It's hard to see K1llsen being able to bring this one back with just the momentum Rapha is working on.
Perfect reads from Rapha as well. He gets into these fights and a good amount of damage, and then when K1llsen has to retreat to an item, Rapha is always there to punish him. There comes the trade that is going to benefit Rapha slightly. K1llsen, can he get the better spawn? LG will be going his way. It's a small armor and a rocket as well. This is good for K1llsen. He's got the positioning on heavy too. Good play, catching the American as he tries to leave the room. Rapha's going to actually suicide right there. Bit of an oops indeed. But still, he's got a nice little buffer. Quite a few frags in between him and his opponent.
But Rapha, able to steal away the Mega, which is a good start. I was going to say minimal damage on return, but he just peppered out that nail damage. So perhaps we spoke too soon right there. Should be able to refrag. But again, it's the amount of work that Rapha has been able to do, and the comeback that he's forced onto K1llsen is just so mammoth-sized that really K1llsen needs to get that perfect daisy chain. Rapha knows that though, and he's just going to play that fast runaway game at this point. Make every frag take as long as possible to obtain.
Oh,
You're going to see another fight, intelligently stealing away. I mean, he's getting the frag anyway, but still the objective, take away the items. If you take away the major items, K1llsen can't even have the stack needed to get the streak of frags that he needs.
I think that's one of the most important things to note in this matchup. So far, every single time that K1llsen managed to get himself a frag, Rapha has done so much defensive damage that K1llsen has been unable to establish any sort of decent control or rotations of his own. Constantly, when Rapha is about to go down, he still lands a great rocket, nice string of plasma, and it just hurts K1llsen so much that it precludes him from ever getting a good foothold on the map. And with 8 frags of a difference and 25 seconds to go, I think we can safely spell GG for this one, as Rapha will be taking home the first map of the series.
There was a lot of kind of like reserved nature to K1llsen within the first sort of chunk of the map. I know you were pointing out there, Flea, but Rapha dug his heels in early, and we've seen time and time again how dangerous that can be. Last minute gauntlet, because why not? That's one for the highlight reel, but all things considered, Rapha had one hell of a head start, and that's a great way to start a series, really.
Absolutely, K1llsen's going to feel good about that one moving into map 2. Looking at the stats right there, actually relatively close in terms of item pickups, but Rapha just had the items at the ready when he needed them, and he just constantly denied K1llsen the resources he needed at the crucial opportunities that we've discussed throughout the entire game. K1llsen would finally get a frag, but unfortunately for him, he was left so low with very little resources to work with, and that allowed Rapha to just instantly get back into the game and stay in that leading position.
Yeah, and most of the time when K1llsen was in a position where, okay, you would look at a frag and think, right, this is the moment to start a comeback, Rapha had just done so much damage and so much work that it was kind of almost meaningless, where K1llsen would have to spend so much time trying to either survive and recover, which is time not spent laying the pressure on to Rapha on spawn, or Rapha's able to refrag. So it's like, even when you feel like you have a small victory, it's not enough.
Absolutely, and that's one of the scariest things when you go up against the man from Liquid. Such a tremendously strong player who is so good at building himself that long-lasting control in the late game. Same goes for the Hang. They are so good at just planning for the long game and just setting themselves up to really run away with the scoreline towards the end of the map time and time again. K1llsen unable to break it, but on the other hand, this was corrupted keep, and as we always say, you can't look at the scorelines too much because it's so easy to run away with the scoreline towards the end. So K1llsen absolutely should be able to hold his head high after this one. He is, of course, a veteran competitor, should know things extremely well, have a lot of resilience going into the second map as we are setting up for Awoken.
By the way, definitely worth mentioning, that was K1llsen's server choice. and Rapha was able to pretty comfortably win that. So we're now going into our second matchup. This one's going to be Rapha's server choice, which does really spell. We use the term momentum quite regularly in these competitive sets. Rapha has a fair few of that, how he's just been able to dominantly win the first map when I guess the situation was what it was, but now he is a little bit more comfortable and he gets the choice of server. I do wonder if that's going to have a big factor here.
I mean, it always has to hurt a bit when it's on your server playing against an American and you still lose.
You'd never have guessed. That's it. You'd never have guessed.
Yeah, absolutely not. We're about to load up on our second map, which will be Awoken. We're going to see Rapha playing Nyx, going up against K1llsen's Strog and Peeker. So Rapha's got a lot of vertical mobility with that wall jump. He's also got the Ghost Walk, Get Out of Jail free card, as well as being able to use it aggressively for those unexpected and surprise pushes. Whereas on the other hand, K1llsen has the higher base speed. He can get that horizontal movement done a lot quicker than his opponent. And of course, he's got the Peeker for those sneaky little rushes.
So it looks like we should be loading in very, very soon. Man, we get through these maps quickly, Flea. The nature of two players just being itching to go, I think. But Awoken, a map that Rapha has said many, many times that he enjoys greatly. And he does play, he plays well on it, right? So hard to really count out Rapha after that performance on Corrupted Keep. We are going from one small map to another, but by no means do they play exactly the same.
Absolutely the case. Few seconds till we are going to jump into this game, and I think that K1llsen just wanting to hop into the next map clearly shows that he's keeping his head in the game, right? He's staying cool. He knows that he doesn't need time to just take a breather. He knows it's Corrupted Keep. What happened, happened. Time for the next matchup. He is, of course, one of our previous champions of the Pro League, and that definitely accounts for something.
Aggressive Ghost Walk popped immediately by Rapha, doesn't get the positioning, but the reality is that 100 rocket damage is a great way to kickstart things. I love the choice for Nyx. Nyx, similar to a Doomslayer, the wall jump acting as somewhat of a double jump, and there are so many walls in this map that she can navigate quite a few of the same areas, but that's some early damage done by K1llsen. Rapha's done a great job of prioritizing some of those hourglasses, so he has got the Ghost Walk back immediately, and I do think that's going to be a pretty large mini objective if you're Rapha. Go for the hourglasses as much as possible because you're going to need Ghost Walk with just the speed and momentum of a really talented Strog like K1llsen.
On the other hand, though, there comes the counterplay for K1llsen, right? He wants to deny as many of these hourglasses as he can of his own to make sure that Rapha is starving and stuck without the Ghost Walk for as long of a period as possible. So I think we can expect to see a lot of peekers coming out this map as well, since he obviously wants to be able to secure himself plenty of those hourglasses. Nice little rail from Rapha right there. Heavy is still up. K1llsen's in a bit of a difficult position, but that defensive rail is going to award him with the item. Rapha, no choice but to back up. 16 points of health, 7 points of health. It just keeps dropping by some minuscule amount as K1llsen unable to secure the first frag, but it was close, and Rapha has a sliver of health to work with right now. He's got to look for those small resources around the map.
Well, good choice from K1llsen, knowing that he's in a better position for the Mega, and he shows a lot of respect to Rapha, knows that Rapha's not going to stick his neck out too far, so he looks for the entry damage. Doesn't quite manage to find the shot, because Rapha's playing nice and safe, but this really does show that K1llsen, it's not just about the items, it's about trying to take any advantage he can, and that rail would have been a great way to kick things off for him. What he has been able to do, though, is establish that control. He has both of the items, he's got perfect timing on them. Rapha in position. Goes for a fight, Ghost Walk is ready, but again, showing a lot of respect. We're going to back out.
Tribolt working nicely for K1llsen, doing a really good job at keeping Rapha on the back foot, not giving the American player any sort of a consistent foothold on the map. Can't allow him to get comfortable, as K1llsen is continuously just cycling between the items, but Rapha himself also not doing too shabby at culling his opponent's stack, landing a lot of LG and railgun damage. K1llsen actually in a bad position right now. Will have to concede the item to his opponent, and this might be the way back into control for Rapha.
Rapha's almost exclusively kind of lived in this right-hand side of the map. It's given him some decent angles. Does take a rail, but hang on a minute. That rail's bad news for K1llsen. Can't quite get the rail shot. But he does know that K1llsen's going to be weak all the same. And this has allowed Rapha to force his hand, force his way onto the map. And now he's starting to cycle around the middle. Eats a rail. Nothing to be too nervous about. Pika. That is a really good kamikaze, though, and he finishes the job with a rail. Nice little counterplay there from K1llsen. Challenge me at your own risk.
Yeah, it was a risky push from K1llsen, but he knew that the reward would be great. He was well aware that if he landed that shot, he would get both Rapha as a kill and also would be able to secure the mega health and likely the heavy as well. So that was a very calculated risk right there. Bit of information right there, knowing exactly where Rapha is from that rocket and tri-bolt, and now taking position on that center map. And that is something that we know K1llsen loves to do. Just dictate the flow of the game from a central point in the map and then just react to whatever his opponent is doing.
Speaking of reactions, that missed shot, you know, K1llsen, he sniffs it out. He's ready to pounce on it, but right now he's at least controlling the center again. Heavy's in play. Both players really looking to keep this as rail heavy as possible. K1llsen does take a pretty crucial one. Rapha has the right idea, holding out that rail angle for the light, because K1llsen's going to try and soak it up, but doesn't quite get the shot, and K1llsen remains in a better position throughout the center of the map. The Mega's going to go his as well. But Rapha, we've seen so many times how he plays for that one opportunity to seize full control, and he can win on that alone. Even though it's been 4.5 minutes. The difference? Oh no, he has to dedicate to a kamikaze. I mean, in that situation, he knows he's in a bad spot. So the kamikaze was the best chance to get some damage. If he got rid of the Pika and then just stuck around, he was going to take all that free damage anyway. But a pretty costly mistake.
Hoping to at least get himself a bit further away around the corner. And I don't think he quite managed to do that because he was just a sitting duck for a lot of Rapha's damage coming through right there. Still though, hanging on to that one frag lead, that could be all it takes. We've seen it yesterday a whole bunch, these really low scoring games finishing with just a 1 frag difference. K1llsen, of course, knows that he cannot run away for 5 minutes against Rapha with the Ghost Walk on a map as small as Awoken, so he has to continue applying some pressure. But he's losing out on a lot. Beautiful read from Rapha, giving up the items ever so shortly to just rush his opponent, perfectly reading his position, and now K1llsen again caught out in a bad spot, but the rockets perfect to push Rapha back.
Now Rapha, he knows it's way too risky to stick around near those items after the Ghost Walk, but it did allow him to get a pretty tiny little rail. And with that heavy in hand, has just put Rapha in a way better position stack-wise. He still has enough ammo to make this next fight towards Mega count. And he's just trying to get an eye. Where is K1llsen going to be? Where's he going to appear? Looks like it's going to be center map. The rail's not going to hit its mark. Rapha constantly looking to head him off. You notice, even though the crouch slide, the speed of K1llsen is there, Rapha's just in the right position. K1llsen, a smart little idea, hide around near teleporter. Didn't quite get the damage to make it that worthwhile. Rapha continues the heavy. I like the patience there from K1llsen, but that wall jump, it can set up for some unique angles and some opportunities to avoid what would otherwise be pretty easy rail shots.
K1llsen might be overextending himself slightly here. Rapha looking for the machine gun damage. His opponent not as low as he might think. I definitely think that Rapha assumed K1llsen to be a lot lower than he was right there, hoping that 2, maybe 3 bullets would be enough to clean up the frag. But K1llsen still had a decent amount of stack left and even retaliated with a nice railgun shot to boot. Now Heavy will be going towards Rapha, but K1llsen's got himself a stack of around 100 health, 75 armor. Not looking all that weak himself. Rapha, though, aggressive push with the Ghost Walk, looking for more damage. K1llsen sneaks on through, but he's weak and he will fall a little too early for the Mega. Showed up around 3 seconds before the item was due to spawn, and Rapha finally putting himself in the lead with 3 minutes left on the clock. Good rail there too.
Awoken can be so punishing sometimes. You miss one of those items by even a couple of seconds, and if the opponent is in a way better position, they can punish you so hard for it. And Rapha overstacked both ends. But I'm just constantly keeping an eye on position, and position is where Rapha has been in a better place of for most of this map. But K1llsen, he's certainly not been making it easy for him, but it just seems like Rapha's had that level of a hold over the entire map. He's going to get one of those rails, and that's once more going to force K1llsen back and put a lot of pressure on to land those big rockets that unfortunately just weren't able to hit their mark the way he wanted it to. The Ghost Walk, aggressive Ghost Walk perhaps. Going to be a free shot. K1llsen was not ready for that one. But how can you be ready with Nyx? You can reappear at any moment. Rapha, not afraid to lay that pressure on. No reason to fear a rail when you know you have the stack to tank it. And K1llsen getting caught in an unfavorable position with that Pika.
Yeah. And that was such a clever play from Rapha too. After winning that previous engagement, instead of just going straight for the heavy, he went to deny the small armor in center map, then popped the Ghost Walk and went right back, knowing that K1llsen wouldn't have the guts to drop down for it right away. He will fall here though. K1llsen wins out on the LG engagement. 2 frags, a minute and 30 left. Got himself a decent base stack, 100 to work with. Mega will be the next item to spawn. K1llsen's got so much work cut out for him. The LG is looking fine though. Rapha has to retreat from that situation. He had an angle for the briefest of seconds. K1llsen had the angle. He's gonna find Rapha again, but the Ghost Walk will allow him to escape the situation. Perfect read for K1llsen. But still,
yeah, it's all
Rapha.
about what he can get off it though, isn't it? Because we have that 1-minute warning on deck. Rapha, 30 seconds away from his Ghost Walk though, so unless he can find some hourglasses, K1llsen's in a position to get some damage. He's gonna chase all the way through. Keep that center part of the map.
Oh, what?
Looks like he might have had a rocket there, but Rapha had the right idea and the perfect read too. Hey, Mega's about to spawn. I know you're going to be there. You feel like you're the one that's in control. A nice rail. The danger with K1llsen though is until he gets armor, any push is going to be risky because Rapha, his defensive rails have been on point, Flea.
Yeah.
His shots have been spectacular.
And that rocket, that was the best rocket we've seen today. The angle, you didn't even see Rapha on K1llsen's perspective because he just used that ability to stick to the right side instead of going up on the bounce pad all the way, and still he threaded the needle and landed a beautiful rocket. And with 15 seconds left, K1llsen right now unable to keep up with Rapha using that vertical momentum that he has off the Nyx. And with 5 seconds left, K1llsen still gonna land one shot, but Rapha dips around the corner and will secure himself 2 frags in a row. So that is a map win on both an EU and an NA server for Rapha.
Great win for him, and it's always the prominent thing is just mentioning the fact that that was the better server for him, I suppose. But speaking of which, we are now going to be jumping into K1llsen's server choice. But if you're in Rapha's position, that was a great head start for him. I really loved his use of that Ghost Walk, the confidence where we talk about how Rapha, when he's winning, very rarely does Rapha kind of like take his foot off the gas. He just maintains that intense presence all the way through. And up until the final few minutes, he's doing the same thing, where he has already a comfortable lead, and then he chooses to be aggressive with the Ghost Walk. You know, he has like 2 or 3 frags in the lead, and he's in a good position. And then it's, I'm still going to surprise you. Catch K1llsen off guard, get another one of those frags, keep the pressure on thick, and just makes the comeback feel so bleak, even when there isn't seemingly that much work to do.
Yeah, and on that note, looks like we are going to be jumping back to an EU server for the next map, which will be Blood Covenant coming up shortly. Clearly, Rapha not too bothered by being up so early, because keep in mind, he's playing from NA, so it's around 6:30 AM for him over there, so the man got up bright and early, and he's absolutely already bringing the pain to his opponent. K1llsen so far unable to really hold a candle to everything that Rapha's throwing at him.
That's basically what it seems like so far. Looks like we're about to load into our next map, Blood Covenant. Rapha getting the visor, and that's always a match made in heaven, isn't it? Rapha with the visor in hand. You take one of the smartest Quake players in the world, and then you give him access to piercing sight. What could possibly go wrong?
And look at that, 59% railgun. As you mentioned, the defensive rails, whenever Rapha was out of control, his positioning was just so smart, so clever, always allowing himself an exit route, of course, sometimes with the Ghost Walk, but otherwise usually just through clever positioning alone, and constantly doing a good amount of damage with the railgun, and also with a variety of other weapons. That's one of the things that I appreciate the most about Rapha. He just uses everything in his arsenal. We saw so many situations where he would spam the heavy nail gun, where a lot of other players would just not even go for any damage whatsoever. So Rapha always on top of the map, keeping full account of anything he's got in his toolbox to just dish out that tiny bit of extra damage, because he knows that it may well be the deciding factor in the next engagement.
Well, it's the intelligence of Rapha at the end of the day. He is very much a kind of surgical player, and it's optimization. If there is an opportunity to squeeze out some damage, then Rapha is often the player that will find the answer for it. However, it looks very much like K1llsen is on the back foot here. 2-0 down. Rapha just needs one more map for an early victory here on our Championship Sunday Quake Pro League Stage 3 Finals. Our last lifeline for K1llsen, who is in big trouble. We're checking out Rapha, the boy from Liquid, the piercing sight coming through. And he gets that early information. What to do next.
K1llsen is going to have to work hard to deny the hourglasses. It's going to be so important on a larger map like Blood Covenant, where you can line up so many good shots and angles from a long distance, as Rapha has already been doing in the previous maps too. And that piercing sight is only going to help him so much with it. So K1llsen has got to use that orb frequently and effectively to deny some of the hourglasses to his opponent.
And as we can see early on, Rapha, he's in that position where he has all the information and he has a good opportunity to land more angles too. But he's going to dip down and quickly get that heavy. It's going to force a trade-off for K1llsen, so he's at least going to be able to get hands on the Mega. And it's always exciting, Flea, watching those first opening minutes. Who's going to try and establish their presence first? Patience from K1llsen, going arguably a little bit all in with the Dire Orb. Lost all of his armor, but lives to fight another day. But maybe a bit predictable on the light armor pickup, because Rapha, he already had that angle well set up.
K1llsen fumbled the movement. That's what led to the death right there. He tried to rocket jump all the way across, but he didn't quite make it, so he had to go up the bounce pad as well. And that is when Rapha nailed him with that first rail. And right now, Rapha taking a fair bit of damage himself. He's gotta be careful, just barely above that railable territory. K1llsen, though, 0 armor to his name, has to retreat to the other side of the map, looking for another plan of attack.
It's a bit of a bummer for K1llsen to not quite get the jump he was after.
Oh yeah, that was...
When you're already behind and Rapha's playing as well as he is, the fact that he was already holding on that angle, because it's almost like he knew that the sort of plan B attempt would still come through, rather than K1llsen just trying to disengage. But either way, it's going to give Rapha the lead, and it's a scary position, because now he's got the rail shots, he's got the right reads. It looks like K1llsen is struggling to really get away here. Has to jump down towards another light, but that's a light that Rapha is totally comfortable with K1llsen taking. The piercing sight rail!
Oh,
It's just going from bad to worse. K1llsen, he needs to really step it up a notch.
at the very least, he should be able to at least claim the heavy right now, putting himself on a decent fighting stack, but what he's lacking is weaponry. Don't think he's got the railgun, don't think he's got the LG, and Rapha is going to punish him for that.
That looks like he did fire one back off at least.
Yeah.
At least he has the rail. Tri-bolt. Oh, the tri-bolt! Doing its work, and then some. Rails from Rapha coming through again. SSG, one more of those will do it. K1llsen's going to drop for a 3-0 lead for Rapha so far. Fresh off the spawn, I mean, that's a get-in, get-out job, but he's taking so much damage. Rapha just refuses to miss. I do like the way K1llsen is still trying to play around, like taking any item that he can, right? If he knows he can spawn and take it, even if he's going to take some damage, he just simply cannot allow Rapha to take what he wants when he wants. There's that piercing sight rail. Doesn't quite hit its mark, but now K1llsen's been able to force it out a little bit. He has a little bit of downtime now to try and be elusive, but what does he do with this time? He gets a bit of bonus damage. Now with the heavy about to spawn. Rapha, 100 damage out of nowhere, Flea.
What do you do against that when you're K1llsen? Set up in the center of the map and do a whole lot of LG in return. That's what. Excellent play from the German. But he just needs to find a way to break Rapha's control, because that's where the Liquid Man is the scariest of all, when he's got himself a good rotation between Mega and Heavy, and that's exactly what he's got going for him right now. Around 5 seconds between the items, and Rapha is going to be the first to put himself in between his opponent and the item. That is a tremendous amount of nail gun damage, and that is exactly what I was talking about before we went into the map. Rapha uses every tool in his arsenal to just make these beautiful combo kills happen, and now the LG on K1llsen with the heavy machine gun will drop again, and there's so many resources on this side of the map that Rapha will have no trouble stacking himself right back up.
You know, you just called him the Liquid Man. I think that gives off such Terminator 2 vibes. I think comparing Rapha to the T-1000 isn't such a bad shout, to be completely honest with you. The fluidity of this guy's game plan, the way that it just seems like no matter the opponent Rapha goes up against, no matter how diverse their styles are, once Rapha clocks it, that can be it. Does spring a little bit of a trap here, but it's not enough to really punish Rapha as heavy as perhaps K1llsen needs with 5 minutes on the clock and the mammoth lead that Rapha is working on, 5 frags to nothing. Any situation K1llsen has at all to get back into this fight. Rapha, in the blink of an eye, is just shutting it down, even if it involves just getting out of there and being hard to spot.
Now Mega, 15 seconds ahead of Heavy. This is the perfect item cycle for whoever can get into control, and it might actually be K1llsen, but the moment he shows his face, he eats an awful rocket. Oh, is on the back foot though. Yeah, that would have been the kill for sure, but unfortunately for the Cheetah, can't quite land the shot, and it looks like he might be in trouble here too. Hang on. Taking away the Mega, now using the rocket jump across the map to get himself over to the bridge quickly. Heavy still within his grasp. This might be the moment that K1llsen turns it around. He's got a good rotation, he's got all the weapons, and Rapha is still on the back foot.
He's going to go for the rocket jump just to try and hit that angle a little bit faster than the teleport would give him. Dire Orb cannot teleport to it, but K1llsen still with the more favorable stack, misses the rail. But as we run out of time on this potential final map, every single rail shot counts, and K1llsen cannot afford to miss them. But he has got a decent stack at least compared. Rapha trying to go for any kind of spam he can through the hallway. The defensive shots are looking so good. Again, K1llsen unfortunately misses the shot. They're going to take a bunch of damage, and K1llsen gets the Heavy. Okay, now there is absolutely a chance to bring this one back.
I haven't seen as much of K1llsen as I would have liked. A lot of missed rail shots so far, but there's finally some sparks of life on K1llsen's end. Starting to close the gap. Mega will be taken away from him though, but that is a good rocket, and the orb comes out as well. This should be a frag for K1llsen, but Rapha with the heavy machine gun stands his ground, and the aim must have been absolutely perfect right there. K1llsen though getting a good spawn, picking Rapha off on the drop down. 3-6, 3 minutes left to go. Entirely possible, especially considering that K1llsen has got the better mobility to work with.
Absolutely, 20 seconds away from the piercing sight, so it's going to be kind of hard for Rapha to get that immediate information. Going to have to rely on his instincts, of which, to be fair, they're pretty damn good. The Mega is going to go in hand for Rapha, but he has to be able to get out. Cannot afford to sit here and take that damage. So he has been able to disengage. Has been taken instantly. A good call there from K1llsen, and a nice chase down, actually, setting himself up for an angle. And he's going to get the rail on it. Another good rail on Rapha. There's that Dire Orb mobility. Where does Rapha go from here? The Mega is about to spawn, but is Rapha even going to take the risk? K1llsen looking for another shot. He wants blood. Will he get it?
Nice little double back from Rapha to escape his opponent's clutches. He's just around the corner. K1llsen has the right idea, but the damage just not reaching his opponent. 2 minutes left on the clock. He's really got to step things up right now.
But Rapha, this is his opportunity to play defensive. He's just about gets away. But this is that moment for Rapha to play run for your life, mate, for 2 minutes. K1llsen has the stack, but every time that is even a shred of an angle on a rail, Rapha's out of there. It's looking kind of bleak here for K1llsen. Misses the shot. Every rail counts from this point on. You cannot afford to miss a single one, no matter the difficulty. We've seen K1llsen hit those rails before. But the Tri-Bolt, frustration building in for K1llsen. The Tri-Bolt's going to melt away any armor that might have existed. But Rapha, he's stabilized. The stack is real. And now he can start fighting. If there even is a fight to break out, you can't count him out at all. He has the angles for the rocket. Doesn't quite hit the damage, but he's staying hard to pin down, hard to hit. And from this angle, K1llsen has to take such a risk to be aggressive, but this time the risk pays off. He has less than 1 minute, 2 frags to get. Born's down the bottom, LG in hand, but the LG is all he's got for now. But it's enough to make that jump pad a risk, let me tell you.
Yeah, you obviously cannot push up straight into Rapha's LG because we know how strong it can be. With 40 seconds left, K1llsen, he's got to find his opponent. Doesn't have his orb at the ready just yet. Picks up some hourglasses. Is just going to go full aggro. If he dies one more time, it will be it. And the suicide trade coming through. K1llsen needed that frag. Rapha gets the spawn over towards the heavy machine gun. Is just going to slow play it. Listening out for these audio cues. K1llsen, hyper aggressive though. Drops down. I don't think that was intentional.
We heard the teleport again. He tried to recover. He tried to recover off that teleporter, but I think it's too little too late, Flea. 10 seconds left, 2 frags. Cannot be done. No. Simply put, it cannot. K1llsen pushes for his life, but to no avail. Rapha brings it all the way through and, in a comfortable fashion, is able to defeat K1llsen here for the Stage 3 finals.
Last map probably was the closest one of the bunch. Looked like K1llsen had a real shot at a comeback towards the end right there, but then again, the fumble on the movement. We saw it earlier with that rocket jump that made him drop the first frag, and then at the end on the pillars, just quite not being able to follow Rapha through the doorway. And that ultimately led to his demise. Rapha still seeming unsurmountably strong and looking to continue his performance from Stage 2 finals, yet to drop a map.
I mean, the practice has been paying off. Rapha is definitely, you can always say going into tournaments as the most prepared player, especially when he's been grinding hard. We saw that in the Stage 2 finals where he had his dominant win, but even now under these online circumstances, anyone that watches Rapha streams, he streams regularly, he's been practicing on multiple servers to prepare from this tournament. Like, this series was not his first rodeo in these conditions, and he had to make sure he was as prepared as possible, and prepared he certainly was.
What a performance from Rapha. That was a real masterclass to take every single map away from K1llsen, which not a lot of players get to do, let alone under obviously slightly more taxing conditions. So really well played from the American superstar.
I suppose it's just the fact as well that it was a best of 5, but it was over so quickly, you probably wouldn't have even realised. Like, it just really does go to show and put an exclamation mark on the end of everything that Rapha has been doing recently. Think about the logistics of him getting 2 back-to-back stage final wins without dropping a map. It would just be ridiculous.
Well, I mean, Rapha is a player that, with the online circumstances, I know that for some people, Rapha is a player that some people were a bit concerned about, purely on the fact that he thrives on LAN. But after this performance today, I mean, I'd say he's comfortable, lads.
It wasn't close.
No, not at all. And I love what you just said, Jackie, because we basically had maps yesterday that went on almost as long as this entire series. We had a 25-minute map yesterday, and this was 30 minutes done and dusted. So a very interesting and convincing performance from Rapha.
It is wild. Like, think about that. If you said that to someone before the tournament, we had a Tox versus Wenger game where one map was longer than this entire series between 2 absolute giants of the game in K1llsen and Rapha. It's just mind-boggling. It really is going to prove how close the scene has got and how far ahead Rapha still is.
Yeah, it's a statement, that is for sure. But we have another big statement coming up now as we have the #1 in EU, effectively, Cypher, up against the Hang.
A whole lot more action over the course of the day. I mean, maybe that best of 5 will have some more sprinkled into it. You never know. In terms of the replays on this one, obviously still just Rapha doing what he does best. It was just slaughtering grounds for him. We are going to have an interview with Rapha as well. That will be when we come back after the break. But for now, I think we just need to continue to speculate if there's much of a chance for K1llsen in the lower bracket. In terms of the grind he'll be knocking into, I believe he is going to be playing against Wenger in the follow-up game. However, it might actually be on the flip side, so it could be Chain he's taking on. I'll get that clarified.
I think either way, no matter who the opponent is, K1llsen definitely still has a shot, and by no means can we say that, you know, that his journey ends here, because K1llsen he's one of the champs for a reason. This guy won QuakeCon last year, and he does grind intensely hard. You can always count him to do well. It's just, again, we seem to see this regularly with Rapha as of late, that no matter who Rapha is against, no matter the conditions, he just seems to be that guy that just wins. And it's, you said it yourself, ZSX, he's sending a bit of a message and a statement. If I was anyone else in this bracket and I was less comfortable with the online format, then I would be terrified of Rapha right now because it barely affected him.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking yesterday about how good K1llsen's rails were looking, right? Railsen is back, but then when he goes up against someone like Rapha, who outpositions him so consistently, it shuts down a lot of the utility that even a man like K1llsen can get out of the railgun, because that just shows how much of a brilliant tactician Rapha really is.
I love those closing moments of Blood Covenant for that exact reason, Flea. We had the chance of watching K1llsen's POV for the last kind of closing few minutes, and every time there was even a shred of a rail angle, Rapha was already long gone, because he knows basically just to give as little opportunities as possible.
Well, that's why also removing some of that speed was pretty imperative. I believe Rapha banned out the slash, which K1llsen does enjoy, and that definitely helps open up those angles and make it easier for you to hit them. So it's just one of those talking points that I think we can look at and see if that was part of the thought process.
And the one time there was the Strog, there was the Nyx with the sort of double jump style mechanics on a map where that goes a long way, and it was still able to kind of go toe to toe with it. very smart picks and bans from Rapha.